Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Maher, who is Uri Berliner?
Mr. Berliner is a former senior editor,
That's all?
a former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time did not
Peabody
overlap.
Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
That is,
So
absolutely.
pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of
Never?
political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Plus Rich Cotton down in the comments. Hey, man, this is an America First channel. I pump out content for you guys. I do static memes, video memes, commentaries, super cuts with a bunch of memes slid in, making fun of Democrats and how ridiculous progressives are. If you like that kind of content, you're gonna find something you like. I need you to hit buttons, subscribe, like all that kind of stuff. I hate begging for it, but I need you to do it. All right, man. In this video, we're gonna check out NPR and PBS again, absolutely destroyed. There's gonna be a little series of videos coming out. This one's gonna be the NPR CEO, Miss Maher, versus Jim Jordan. I think we're going to stick to little short ones, maybe just check out Jim Jordan, go from there. This one strikes home so much, man. One of my best friends on this earth of 30 plus years now. You know, I'm going to call him a moderate Democrat. We talk politics. He's very open. He wouldn't describe himself as a moderate Democrat. He's going to say he's an independent, but you know how it is. A lot of his ideals are progressive leaning, but he's raised by conservatives anyway. Did you hear that laugh? He listens to NPR. That's my point. He listens to NPR, doesn't really see anything bad in it, and I try to explain to him how it's government propaganda, but whatever, it is what it is. That's my little side caveat about this. Is unfortunately one of my best friends is he's a liberal, man. We have some compromises and some agree, and we have some agreeing points. We have some disagreeing points. We go from there. We never let it affect our relationship. It is what it is. He listens the reason. He's not unreasonable. In the end, I think NPR is government propaganda, always have. They're subsidized. They collect taxpayer money, and we're going to listen to Jim Jordan tear them to shreds, and we're going to have a little series of the PBS guy, this NPR CEO, and all these people try to explain how, please keep funding them. They promise they're not propaganda. You believe that? Okay. All right, man. Hit those buttons for me, please. I appreciate it, man. Let's get back into the video. It should be a quick one. Let's go. Let's hear that whole room of people laugh at her one more time before the next question.
Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
Was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased.
Embarrassing.
How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said, Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
I'm not in trouble
the
at
whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election.
The fact that she's not prepared to really answer any questions is so typical of these people that get dragged in front of Congress or any sort of committee. I believe this is the Doge committee, but either way, that the laptop story was a big deal. Okay, in the description there'll be a link to, this is a Rasmussen article that has a billion different polls with different percentages for what voters thought, if it was real or if it was covered properly or whatever it was. Basically, the gist of all of them is about 79%, about almost 80%. Basically, 8 out of 10 Americans say that the laptop story was credible, was real, and it would have absolutely changed the election of 2020. I believe there was another poll in there that says 1 in 6, which is about 17%, a little bit less than 20% of Democrat voters that voted for Joe Biden would not have voted for Joe Biden. They would have changed their votes if they would have known that the story was real and not just a distraction. So check that out in the description. There'll be a link that goes right to that article. I believe Rasmussen doesn't really, it's not what it is, what it is, man. It's the source I'm going to use, but there's a lot of different polls out there that show similar things. But yeah, if you want to go look at it, I'm not going to quote all there. It is literally just paragraphs and paragraphs of percentages. I'm not going to read it and go through all that and fumble through all that. Go look at it yourself. Description will have links. And ultimately, I just hate listening to these people try to answer these questions and just go, "Oh, well, I'm not there. I wasn't there. I'm not sure." But then she immediately agrees with all of his assertions. So that kind of tells you she knows. She just doesn't want to incriminate herself or look bad. Whatever word you want to use. Either way, this is not good. All right, let them continue. I definitely she's making the case on why they should not be receiving any taxpayer funds at all. It's pretty gross. Any other sources that I use will be down in the descriptions. It's like always, all my videos, if I use sourcing or mention something like that, I typically put the link in the description for you guys to check that stuff out. But yeah, the laptop story was covered, and they buried it, man. They buried it because they needed to. The deep state propaganda wing just did what they were told.
About the COVID origin story, that's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, "We became fervent members of the team natural origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists." Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization. What's happened to your listeners over the last 5 years? Went up, down, or stayed the same?
It has gone up and down and is now going back up.
Well, I thought 5 years ago it was at 60 million. And you said in your opening statement, I think, 43 million.
That's correct.
So 43 million now, and it was at 60 million 5 years ago. I can do some math. That looks like it went down.
And is now going back up.
It's now going back up?
Yes, it is.
How much has it went back up?
It's gone up a couple of millions over the past years.
So you went from 60 million to 41 million. Now you're back up to 43 million.
In a year's time, I'm very proud of that growth, sir.
Okay, you're proud of that growth. Okay. But over 5 years, it's went down 18 million.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Should taxpayers subsidize NPR?
I believe that taxpayers subsidize local stations, sir. That is the vast majority of what
I thought you said you got 11 million from Corporation of Public Broadcasting, which is taxpayer funded directly to you, right?
That is to support the public
and
radio.
And then local stations get it from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, right? They get taxpayer money.
100 million that goes to the local
100 million goes to local stations, and then those local stations buy back programming and content from you. So that money goes to the local stations, comes back to you, gets routed through the local stations, all taxpayer money.
Those fees are actually based on private donations rather than on federal funding.
Well, we all know money's fungible, so some of it gets put in there.
Certainly, we could agree that money is fungible.
What? More money for less listeners. You fired the guy who pointed all this out, who said that you were so biased to the left that you lost listeners, which is exactly happening, and you're here maintaining that, you need to continue to get taxpayer money.
I did not fire Mr. Berliner, sir.
Okay, the guy that left after all that. Understand. Are you fundraising off today's hearing?
Sir, I believe that there was a message that went out earlier today letting people know we were coming in. Yes.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the message it said, "Donate now," right?
I don't recall the exact language.
I can show it to you. Right there it is. Donate now. I mean, I'm not against fundraising. We all do it. I mean, I get it. But it's, I assume this fundraising thing is probably going to all the left listeners who are subsidized content by the taxpayers, and that's the
gentleman's
rub.
time is expired.
That's the rub. I yield back.
And there it is. It's just all a big racket, guys. All right, man, I'm gonna finish this one up here. It really is. I don't mind. It's not about censorship. It's not about shutting these things down. And speaking of censorship, here the last meme I'll put up here is that woman herself is a part. It receives money through fundraising directly from George Soros. Okay, so that's it is what it is, man. That's what these people are. They take their orders from the globalist, and that's what it is. They got to come there and pretend like they don't know anything, so they can't answer any questions, except for whenever you slip up. Whenever Jim slipped up and said she fired the guy or whatever, and I didn't fire him, sir. Like that was even a point. Like you even had to say that. Like it changed anything. Now I guess if you fired him, it looked bad. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'll just shut the hell up. Regardless, these people make me sick. If their radio and their words were so important, allow them to exist in the free market and see if you're able to receive the funding that you would without just taking from the taxpayer teat, because that's what you're doing. Your ideas, your ideology, that left-leaning propaganda that you spin every day on NPR could never exist. It would never be purchased in the free market, and that's why you have to take the taxpayer money. And plus, it's just easy to do so. You run these NGOs, you pretend like these places just naturally exist. And then whenever you really look into it, no, they're just taking money from the government, taking money from us so they can exist and spread their propaganda. It's a big web of lies and deceit and fraud and corruption that I just don't have time to get into. And that's not what this video is about. I just wanted to show you a little something, but hit those buttons, press things, do stuff, subscribe, like, comment, go talk to Rich Cotton down in the comments. I'm still so small, I reply to all comments. I'll probably always reply to all comments because I like to run my mouth clearly. So go comment, I'll reply. Rich Cotton will reply. There's like-minded people here. We're building a community. Come along, let's do it. All right, man, I'll see you guys on the next one. It's probably going to be another person destroying this. There's going to be a couple videos coming out about this NPR and PBS hearing, and I'm just going to keep tearing them to shreds. All right, man, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye 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 bye.